Before you begin watching, I highly recommend that you watch March 19th, 2021, my experience at DNOW 2018, Storytime 12. Before watching this video, it will make a lot more sense and you will have a better understanding. I also recommend watching April 16th, 2021, The Conflict at Church, Storytime 16, as it's also a good prerequisite. Anyways, onto the video. I discussed my experience at DNOW 2018 for Storytime 12 on March 19th, 2021. In that video, at the very end, I said I would do DNOW 2021. I outlined the struggles of it and my thoughts about it. I did the same just 2 weeks ago when I discussed the conflict at church. Well, here we are. I did DNOW 2021 6 days ago. So today, I'm going to talk about my experience as well as my overall opinion of it. I'm Zach, and this is Storytime 18 on April 30th, 2021. So before I get any farther, I want to go ahead and mention that this will probably be the most accurate story time I will ever make. The reason is because this event took place just 6 days ago on April 24th, 2021, and of course today is April 30th, 2021. Not only that, but this script was written just 1 day after the event, so unlike story times like my one on DNOW 2018, which was done about 3 years after the event, this one is much closer. While I think I did a great job on my story time for DNOW 2018, I definitely still left out some stuff, as I simply can't remember everything from an event 3 years ago. However, this event was just 6 days ago, so I'll be able to remember more, so be prepared for this video to be a bit longer than DNOW 2018. So if you didn't watch my video on DNOW 2018, you're probably asking, Zach, what the hell is a DNOW? Well, DNOW, also known as Discipleship Now, is a church event many churches across the country do, where multiple churches come together and worship God, play games, eat, socialize, that stuff. We got 15 other churches in Charlotte to host it. It was hosted by my church, by the way. It's for 7th and 12th grade. I'm in 11th grade, so I was eligible to attend. Now, let's talk about the backstory. So firstly, I want to mention why this event is only 1 day rather than 3. So normally, this event is 3 days. I mentioned that at DNOW 2018, we stayed at someone's house. I was in the 8th grade, so me and the other 8th grade boys stayed at a house. It was really fun. This year, we could not do that due to coronavirus. So therefore, we originally had it so that we would stay up for Friday and Saturday, but we would just stay home. But now the reason this was just a 1 day event this year was not just because of COVID, it was because of a high school football game. So the local high school ended up winning some playoff game, so they had another game that night. So as a result, in order to make sure none of the players or people wanting to attend were left out, the planners decided to make this a 1 day event. It would be from 11:45 in the morning all the way to 10 p.m. at night on Saturday, April 24th, as the game was on Friday, April 23rd. Next, I want to mention how grouping worked. So our church had 6 groups, the 7th and 8th grade boys, 9th and 10th grade boys, 10th and 12th grade boys, and of course the same for the girls. I'm a junior, so you might be thinking I hang out with the 11th and 12th grade boys. Well, you'd be wrong. So I explained in Storytime 16 that right now I'm in a conflict with these boys, which has been ongoing since June 18th, 2018. So I asked my youth pastor if I could be with a different group, as I did not feel comfortable at all being with the same boys who left me out at Fuge. He allowed it and placed me with the 9th and 10th grade boys. This was perfect, as more than likely, if I was with the 11th and 12th grade group, then I would have had a pretty bad experience. However, I really only knew one kid in this group. Not only that, but we also never talked too much. While we did often play Minecraft together, that's really all we did. But this event would ultimately pave the way for us to have a better relationship. I also want to mention the group leader. So the group leader for our group was a guy named Luke. He was a senior in college. He's studying to be a math teacher, which is interesting because that's also what I want to do. He's a really cool guy. I knew him before this event too. I knew his father. His father was my Sunday school teacher as a rising 8th grader and throughout 8th grade. He was an amazing teacher, by the way, and his son is the same way. Alright, I'm getting a bit carried away with myself. How about we actually talk about my feelings before this trip? So I was very nervous. This is actually this would be the first church event I did since Winter Retreat 2019. After this event, I promised myself to never do another church event again, as it was just that horrible of an event. However, I decided to let this promise go in November of 2020, after one of my closest friends, as well as the only boy who genuinely felt sorry for me when I was left out at Fuge 2018, passed away. His death really hurt me a ton. He was the only person at church I talked to, so as a result, I had nobody to talk to at church. Then, combined with the whole conflict, I decided to just break the promise with this event. I chose DNOW in particular because I also have a very soft spot for it. I gave my life to Christ at DNOW 2018, so therefore, if I went back to any church event, this would be the one. Not only that, but I just love DNOW in general, and that mostly just comes from getting saved. However, this wasn't the main reason I was so nervous. The main reason was because of the fear that it might be like Fuge or Winter Retreat all over again. In case you haven't watched my story time on Fuge or the conflict, then basically, I got left out at Fuge. I was the only person without a roommate, so I had a room with 2 others. I was harassed and made fun of all week for it. So you could tell that I was very wary about this, as I didn't want the same thing to happen again. Winter Retreat had a very similar experience. I asked someone if anyone was sleeping on the top bunk, and he said, yes. Then when I didn't have a bunk, my youth pastor asked this dude if anyone was on the bunk, and he said no. Therefore, I really did not want to get left out again like these 2 events. Fortunately, to my surprise, that actually didn't happen. Now let's talk about this event. So I drove me and my sister to this event at around 11:30 that Saturday. My sister is in the 8th grade, by the way. She has a lot of friends at church, so she was very excited, unlike me, who was very nervous due to me lacking friends. Anyways, we got there at 11:45, and we went our separate ways. I found I went to our room our group was assigned. Now I want to discuss this group as a whole. Now, these 9th and 10th graders are probably the craziest little shits I have ever known. Like, they drew on themselves like they were joining the Bloods, and then they were shouting out random shit that made them sound like Norwegian Vikings. I didn't participate in this craziness, as I'm not a very crazy person. I just laid there on the couch while they were probably trying to create battle plans against the Crips or something. But nonetheless, they were cool people, and I'm glad I'm a part of the group. So now I want to talk about Mega. This is supposed to be the fun thing that hypes up everyone. It worked on most people, but it didn't for me. I've honestly never been a fan of Mega. I don't know, I guess I just don't like how loud it is and how you have to work as a team. Yeah, I don't really like it. I guess the best way to put it'd be how I put it in Storytime 7. I said that I quote, "Now let's talk about Mega. The event everyone talks about that I don't give a shit about." I think that's the best way to put it. So at DNOW 2018, I did not participate in Mega because I had a broken arm. This Mega I could, as my arm is not broken anymore. Not only that, but it was also more of a brain Mega, rather not really a brawn Mega. This worked really well for me, as I am very weak, but I am very smart. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and say that I'm probably the smartest person in the entire youth group at church. However, remember, I had no friends, so nobody really knew how smart I was. Another thing too is that these were like crosswords, word searches, cracking codes, that bullshit. I do well solving complicated equations and doing excessive trigonometry, not literature, so really I couldn't do much. Not only that, but these were related to Disney, and considering I know basically nothing about Disney or just movies in general, I couldn't do much. So I laid on the couch. I actually almost fell asleep, but I couldn't because my group was being a bit loud. Now I'll discuss the theme real quick. Now as stated before, this year's theme was Disney. I think the theme was not a good idea, as Disney is overall pretty childish, especially considering the age range of the participants being between 12 to 18. This might have worked for like a VBS, whose range is like 6 to 12, so that might have worked for them, but for teens, nah, not a good idea. I'm almost 17 years old, so this was probably even more childish in my opinion than the rest of my group, which was filled with a bunch of 14 and 15-year-olds. However, the group seems to agree with me that this theme was pretty childish, and they didn't like it either, so I'm not alone, but we can't really say much. We didn't plan this event out. I wish the churches would give us our thoughts on the theme, as it would definitely improve the event so that we could have theme for teens and not a bunch of pretty princess bullshit everywhere. So now I want to discuss something extremely rare that happened right after Mega. Someone talked to me. Yeah, this never happened, but now it finally did. In Storytime 16, I wish I had someone not in my grade talk to me, then I might talk to them. Well, that happened. A freshman in our group actually talked to me while I was just laying on the couch. We mostly made jokes about the Soviet Union. It was pretty good. However, I actually didn't know much about him, but this night would allow us to learn more about each other, as well as for him to make a major decision that I also made 3 years ago. So now let's talk about the first intermission we did. So we did like 3 intermissions total, where we would play games and eat snacks. So for the first intermission, I really didn't do much. I really did the normal church thing and just sat at the corner away from everyone. The dude who talked to me was with a couple friends, so that was that. Next comes snack time. Now, I was seriously doubting my decision to come to DNOW around this time. So while everyone was getting snacks, I just stayed where all the games were and laid on a couch with my phone playing Clash of Clans. I actually didn't get a snack, as I was just so demotivated about the whole event at that point. This isn't the only reason I stayed in the game room by myself instead of getting a snack. Another reason was because in the snack group, they were playing Disney karaoke at a very loud volume. Now, I'll let you on a little secret. I cannot stand Disney music. I always lose my damn mind every time I hear one of those songs. I'm not really sure why. I just know they piss me off every time I hear them. And considering they were also at a very loud volume, I about shat my pants when they began playing them. I of course walked back to the game room and was just on my phone instead. However, I did ultimately stay in this room I did ultimately come to the snack room, despite how much it pained me. This would be when I went from being very unmotivated to becoming extremely hyped about this event. So what happened was that 2 sophomores in our group decided to go in front of everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean not just our church, but all 14 churches. They went in front of everyone, and I kid you not, they sang Let It Go. This is probably the funniest shit I have ever seen at church. Needless to say that they made complete fools of themselves right in front of everyone, but come on, all of us were complete fools. Might as well tell the entire church about it. I recorded this too. It was a little bit difficult though, as I died of laughter in the video, but I still kept my mouth shut, tried to keep my mouth shut, and recorded it. Right now, you're probably wondering why the hell this made me so hyped. That's actually kind of what I've been wondering too, as I don't even know why this had me so hyped. But it had me hyped enough to make a friend, become friends again with an old friend, and help me enjoy the trip overall. So right after this, I decided to talk to the 2 sophomores, which is also a very rare thing that happened. I mentioned in Storytime 16 that I would not go to talk to others. However, I decided to talk to them. We mostly joked about the whole situation, but that's definitely something I very rarely did. But not just that, I also started talking to a freshman again. I should note that this is a different dude than the one mentioned, and this was the dude who I played Minecraft with, by the way. Now, when I was a freshman, and when this freshman was in 7th grade, we actually were friends. However, we stopped after I started leaving myself out of everything around mid-2019. But we talked this at DNOW. What really sparked it, though, was that when he said that he was going to try to sing along in front of everyone for You Got a Friend in Me, he actually tried to do that. Unfortunately, before he reached the mic, they ended the karaoke and we had to go to the main building, where a big-ass lesson with all the churches would be. While he couldn't do it, the fact that he had the balls to even attempt it was still really funny. However, that's not the funniest part about this old friend. The funny part is his name. So y'all know, my name is Zach. However, this kid is also named Zach. So yeah, our group literally had 2 Zachs, which was pretty funny. Anyways, like the rest of the group, Zach is a pretty crazy dude, but he's also very nice. Of course, the situation where he attempted to sing in front of the church was funny. As he was acting so stupid, I started talking to him again. Now, I also want to mention me and Zach prior to DNOW 2021. So I mentioned that when I was a freshman, or when he was in 7th grade, we were great friends. Then sometime before sophomore year, I began isolating myself from everyone at church, including him. That's where it ended for a while, but then in like January 2021, we started talking again. We never talked in person though, it was only on Discord. I joined his Discord server, and I also started playing Minecraft with him. I haven't played Minecraft with him in a while, but it was always really fun. He also introduced me to many of his friends online, as well as the church. We all played Minecraft on the same server. Glaringly, I'm the oldest of the boys. So definitely a great time. I remember one time in particular where we were playing Minecraft together, and one of his friends shouted, "I'm gonna make babies with your mom," to someone in a call, and then his grandmother came in raging mad. I of course had to mute myself as I was laughing so much. I wasn't laughing at his comment though, I was laughing at the fact that he got caught. Zach was also of course laughing a ton over this. Definitely a funny highlight with the boys. But this story time isn't about Minecraft, it's about DNOW. But this is just a funny memory both me and Zach have. But the best part is that Zach is probably watching this story time right now, so he definitely remembered that and already probably commented about it. But the one thing that made Zach really crack up was a comparison I made when we were walking to the big-ass worship session. So, I'm not sure why, but Taylor Swift became a topic we were talking about. I then made the comment that Taylor Swift's music sounds like a clogged-up toilet, and Zach died of laughter, as well as many others in the group. I also kind of cracked up, as I thought it was pretty funny, and it was true. Now let's talk about the big-ass worship session 1. Now, normally, we would have 3 of these, but considering this is just a one-day event, we only did 2 of them. The second one wouldn't be until later that night, so we were by the left side of the worship center. I was sitting beside Zach. We mostly cracked jokes, and I also played Clash of Clans. Then the worship and lesson started. So now, normally, when I talk about these events, I never remember any of the lessons. I did not remember any of the lessons from Winter Retreat 2018, DNOW 2018, Fuge 2018, and Winter Retreat 2019. Shit, I don't even remember the sermon at DNOW 2018 that caused me to give my life to Christ. Even though it's only been 6 days, I don't remember the sermon. I do, however, remember the next one, and I'll actually mention it when we get there. So now we were leaving the sermon. Our next thing we did was to go to our group room. You know, the one that we did Mega in. Here, Luke, of course, gave us a lesson. I'm pretty sure it was related to the first big-ass sermon, but I can't remember. But don't worry. I'll remember the second one. Trust me. So after that, we got dinner as it was around 6 o'clock. We got Chick-fil-A. We ate it in our group rooms. Despite the fact that I sat across the room from Zach, I still cracked jokes with him and also played around with a bit. You know, normal high school boy stuff. Seeing me integrate myself back into the church is something I had not done since 2017. I've left myself out of everything in 2019, and now in 2021, I'm talking to others again. Definitely a very rare occurrence. Now let's jump to big-ass session 2. This one I actually remembered a lesson for once. So he talked about Jesus going up and talking to the Samaritan woman by the well. Basically, Jesus was a Jew, and Jews and Samaritans don't talk. So for Jesus to talk to this woman was definitely something out of the ordinary. The sermon was pretty good. It talked about why we as Christians should include everyone and try to make sure everyone is a part of something. Kind of ironic, actually, as 3 years before this, I was left out at Fuge by other Christians. I thought that was kind of ironic, but, you know, I honestly wonder if those boys ever even look back and wonder about me. They've seen me refuse to talk to them, and they'd seen me leave myself out at Sunday school. I honestly want to know if any of them connected the sermon to me, but I'm sure none of them remember, as it really didn't affect them. But definitely an interesting thought that came to my mind during the sermon. Now, while this sermon didn't do too much to me, it did a legendary thing to the dude who talked to me at Mega. Remember that kid? Well, I sat beside him at the big-ass session. The speaker then said that if you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, then stand up. I, of course, did not stand up, as I've already accepted Jesus. But this kid did. My friend, Mason, gave his life to Christ that night. 3 years ago, I gave my life to Christ. This time, it was his turn. It was an absolutely incredible experience for not just him, but for also me. Seeing my friend get saved was a surreal feeling. I already knew that I'm going to heaven, but knowing Mason is also going to heaven definitely made me very excited. But it was not just him. 30 students that night gave their life to Christ. That's absolutely incredible. And like 12 of them were from our church. After the sermon was over, I really wanted to talk to Mason on a more personal note. Remember, we are no longer just friends. We are brothers in Christ. So I talked to him in private. We talked about his decision. I also gave him some advice as a new follower. I also got his phone number and got him on my Discord server. It was an awesome experience. So now let's jump to 8:40. So at every DNOW, our church has a magician to perform a magic show for all the students. I of course sat beside Mason. Both of us were just completely impressed by this magician. Like, this dude made us feel like we were in a Harry Potter movie or some shit like that. In fact, he also broke the #1 rule about magic. He told us a couple secrets. So I guess now you could say that we went to Hogwarts for about an hour and 30 minutes. By the way, I'm a Ravenclaw, just in case you're wondering what house I'm in. So now the show ended at around 10:15, which is a little bit later than normal. Afterwards, DNOW was over, so I then drove me and my sister home. By the way, she also enjoyed herself too. That's all I got for DNOW. Like my other story times on different church events, I'm going to talk about the aftermath. Normally, the aftermath is very long in these videos. I believe the one for Fuge was like a third of the entire video. This video, though, will be very short, as it's only been 6 days since this event. So not much has happened compared to the massive 2.5 years in between Fuge 2018 and Storytime 7. Now, to talk about the aftermath, I want to feel how I feel about church now. Overall, I definitely feel much more secure about church. I have friends at church now, something I hadn't had in 2 years. However, the conflict at church still rages on. While having friends at youth is now a solved problem, I still have the problem with my Sunday school. My Sunday school consists of those in my grade, the same people who left me out at Fuge. My parents actually watched that video. And while they too are very pissed off at the boys for leaving me out, they're also very pissed off at the church for not looking into that. They told me that I really should just let this go. I'm just going to go ahead and say that, no. The reason I say no is because I don't trust fakes. They lied to me. They told me they were the ones, but they were one way, but in reality, they were the other. So it's really hard to let it go, as then they'll do the exact same thing that they did to me earlier. So that's why I still can't say the conflict is resolved. It's a matter of trust. But I will say that there may be a chance that it does become resolved before I go off to college next January, simply because my motivation for church now and just me feeling more comfortable about church in general. So overall, I have a more positive outlook for church now. Now, interestingly, I actually feel a little bit odd about having friends now. Wednesday night was a pretty good example of this. We mostly just played around in the gym that night. I hung out and talked to Mason that night. We threw football with an 8th grade boy, as well as 2 girls. Those girls, I'm not sure who they were or what grade they're in, but they actually invited us to throw football with them. It was really fun. They might have been freshmen, as they appear to be a bit younger than I was. But I think that doing this every Wednesday might even result in me making new friends. But what's interesting is that I actually kind of felt awkward doing this. Obviously, I'm playing with 2 girls, so that's already a bit unusual. But the other thing too is just talking to others and having fun with them. For the past 2 years, I have distanced myself from everyone and refuse to talk to anyone. Now, it actually kind of feels unusual doing normal things now, but it felt awkward in a good way, so I'm very happy about that. But that's really all the aftermath I can talk about. Once again, I can't say much about the aftermath, as it literally just happened just 6 days ago. But one thing I can discuss, though, is the future. So before this event, my ideal future was that once I on to college, I would not come back to this church. However, now I kind of have a new outlook on this. I still think I won't go back here much, since obviously I'll be away at college, but it'd be nice to visit sometime. In fact, I think it'd also be nice to do DNOW 2022 if I have time. I still will be able to do it since while I'll be a college student, I'll still technically be high school age. I'll be 17, almost 18. Of course, it will be with the same group I did DNOW 2021 with. And I've also even considered doing Fuge 2022. I will not be doing Fuge 2021 because I'll be on vacation, but maybe 2022 I can, since it will be during the summer. My church also does a Honduras mission trip, but there is no damn way I'm going, as it's exclusive to 11th and 12th grade, and I'll technically have just finished the 12th grade. There is, of course, the concern about doing Fuge 2022, though. Definitely would be worried that I would get left out again like Fuge 2018, but I think that now that I have real friends, not a bunch of fakes like before, so more likely it would be the opposite of 2018. So that's all I got for Storytime today. Next week, on May 7th, 2021, I'll be redoing my Storytime on my swimming career. Anyways, that's all I got for this video, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!